Let's podcast. Alongside Joe Giglio, I'm Joe Ovies, inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. We're getting close to the end of the year. You're thinking about holiday parties. They just had their holiday party for their customers and their vendors. It was a fun throwback last week, Joe, when we went to Fayetteville. Had my nice jeans on, brought the blazer out. Took me back.
It's funny the things that you miss.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for holiday food, holiday spreads, and all that fun stuff. But if you're looking to save money in 2025, save money with your print and document management at copiers-plus.com. I'm sure, based on it, and Chip Patterson at Cover 3 pointed this out when he was watching the look-ins for the College Football Playoff Committee. Every time they'd show them on TV or you saw a clip of them on the internet, you notice like they didn't have any paper. You'd be incensed. You, Mr. Paper, Mr. Yellow Pad, you always got that notebook with you. Mm-hmm. There was like zero paper there. I would imagine that they were putting all their stats into the cloud, or was it just all vibes?
It was clear that they were going to do one thing and one thing consistently, and that was protect their last regular season ranking. They took their last regular season ranking very seriously. They consistently did not punish the teams who lost in the conference championship games.
Yeah.
In part because I think they knew if they had punished those teams, then there would be no more conference championship games.
Thank you. It's not that complicated.
You would not be able to stage them as a conference because teams would start opting out of them, which there's probably language in their contracts that says that they can't. But as we've seen with lawyers, that doesn't mean you can't sue your way in or out of it. So once they had announced that Penn State was 6, I knew that SMU was in because Penn State has no business. If we were doing this the way that they should do it, which is every week, you take a step back, you take the resume, and you evaluate the teams. If we were doing it that way, there's no one who has Penn State ahead of Ohio State.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
They have the same record, and Ohio State beat them on their field.
That's not that complicated.
Right.
Yeah.
But what they did was Penn State last week was ahead of Ohio State, so they did not punish them for playing against Oregon. Last week, SMU was ahead of Alabama, so they did not punish them for playing against Clemson. So they were consistent, very consistent in that way. And I give them credit for setting the table. You know, Ward Manuel said last week, I mean, basically, this is what it is. Like, we're not going to have significant changes. And they stayed true to that. And now you have a system this year, a one-off, right? Basically, we'll get one more year of this.
Yeah.
Next year, we'll get another 12, and then it'll change after that. But, you know, they have it set up like the NFL in the sense that your division winners get host a home field game in the NFL. In this case, they have the division winners or the conference champions moving into the top 4. One of the coaches I saw last night say this was like, I don't need that. Like you have the bonus is getting in.
Yes.
Like the guarantee is getting in, which I think college football needed this in the sense that the rest of the country tuned out of college football after September because everyone west of the Mississippi would not be involved. You knew, in spite of what we see out of these Pac-12, and hats off to the Pac-12.
There's some good teams in there, man.
With 2 teams in this tournament in Arizona State and Oregon, neither in Pac-12, of course. Hats off to them because I think all of those years, people didn't understand this. Same thing in the Northeast with Penn State and Notre Dame, you know, essentially being eliminated after they lost their one game. You want the sport to be national. That's the way to get the most bang for your buck. If it's just, you know, this part of the country, the southeastern part of the country in Texas and Louisiana and Alabama that care, well, that's not a national sport, you know? And so they needed this, but the champions should be guaranteed a spot, not guaranteed a bye.
That's the NCAA tournament.
And they got to clean up there shouldn't be a difference between seeding and ranking. Just do it like the NFL does. You're the Panthers, you win the NFC South, you're the 3 seed. Just if you put it that way. Because by ranking them and all this other nonsense, it just gets to be messy and confusing.
Well, I think there's two things. One is not a new thing that I've been banging on. The other is a result of seeing what the bracket looks like and looking at potential bracket luck. You talk about Penn State. Penn State might actually have the bracket luck in taking on the horses before they get potentially to the semifinals. And Oregon gets punished by the winner of who? Right? So it's one of those things, right? So there's two things. One, the college football playoff has two simple solutions to change the discourse around it. If, and this is a big if, they want to change the discourse around it, because you know how I feel about this. College football thrives on stupid conversations, on hypotheticals, on the Alabama AD getting on television saying, we got to change our thought process with our non-conference scheduling, as though that's the reason why they were left out. No. So the two things that can easily change. The first one is getting rid of the look-ins every Tuesday.
Sure.
Get rid of them. Get rid of them. We don't do this in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, they don't have value.
No, you're right. You're right in that they don't have value.
To the teams and schools, they don't have value. To the sport and to the fans, they do.
To your point, yeah, they have no value unless you look at it from the conversation starting value of it. But it actually puts the College Football Playoff Committee in a corner when it's not necessary. And you probably save yourself all these arguments if you just, here's the freaking bracket on Sunday. Season's over. Everybody looks at their resumes. Boom, here's your bracket. Not, well, wait a minute, Alabama was here. Now you have to move Alabama. Why? You get rid of all that stuff, unless you don't want to get rid of that stuff because you like the conversation. The other is, and you hit on it, much like the NCAA tournament, just because you won your conference doesn't mean you get a top seed. Winning your conference means you're in. NC State last year, the only way they were going to get in the NCAA tournament was by winning their conference. That does not mean because they won the ACC championship,
a top 4 seed. Yeah,
they get the 4th top seed. That's not how it works.
Right.
We're going to talk more about the college football playoff with our friend David Hale from ESPN. Let's get into the other college football stuff from the weekend that pertains to jobs. When we last left you, everybody was pantless talking about Bill Belichick and North Carolina. Where do things stand today? Well, things kind of stand like we thought it was going to stand come Monday. A lot of hyperbole, a lot of conversation, a lot of what if, and this really could happen. And then cooler heads have prevailed. More reporting has come out, and there seems to be a consensus that this is an absolute just moonshot of a situation for Carolina and Bill Belichick. I think it was our friend Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports that really hit on the issue. And this is highlighted if you're watching on YouTube from JJ's story over the weekend. He's as old as Mac Brown, one UNC source said, referencing the 8-month age difference between Belichick and the fired Tar Heels coach. Quote, UNC athletic director Bubba Cunningham did it most likely to appease someone. Not sure why Belichick went through it. Never coached in college, end quote. Makes sense until you started watching the Adam Schefters of the world start to operate. What it ultimately comes down to is that Bill Belichick is signaling to everybody, I want to coach. I don't care where I coach. I don't care about control. I want to coach. And if you're an NFL team with an opening, you understand you could miss out on the opportunity to hire me. I'm looking at you, Jacksonville. I'm looking at you, Giants. He's not going to coach the Jets. We understand that. He's not going to coach the Jets. He's straight up. He is not going to coach the Jets, dude.
That would be hysterical.
It would be hysterical. But
for those who don't know, he was hired for one day to coach the Jets before.
Yeah.
He took the Patriots job, famously leaving the Jets at the altar and altering the course of NFL history.
I mean, he could do it again where he agrees to it and then goes, actually, no, I'm going to go to North Carolina now. And then on Fox, Tom Brady was with his bros on the Fox pregame show.
I enjoyed this.
And this was the exchange when Menifee brought up the possibility of Bill Belichick coaching at UNC.
Interviewing for college jobs? Can you imagine him coaching college?
No.
Absolutely not. Recruiting an 18-year-old?
You really want to come here? I mean, we don't really want you anyway, but I mean, I guess you could come. We'll figure out if you play.
Bring your parents and use us as a third party, you're gone. You're off the team. We're direct.
Some scar tissue built up here among these guys.
So there you go. I like Tom Brady straight up. No. So that's what this is. I think this is a leverage play by Bill Belichick. That's what we called last week. That seems to be what's been going on right now.
Throw in with every coaching legend, it's about his kid too.
Yes.
Getting his kid another job. And it's just like,
yes. All right. So where does it stand with the other coaches? What about John Summerall? Well, he's staying at Tulane. This was put out by Pete Thamel yesterday. Tulane coach John Summerall has informed Tulane officials that he is not pursuing any of the open jobs in this cycle. Summerall's name had been one of interest for all the open Power 4 jobs. This actually ties in with some press availability for Summerall that went viral over the weekend because he was not wearing a Tulane branded quarter zip, nor was he wearing a rowback quarter zip, but that's neither here nor there. This is from WGNO. The exchange went viral.
Are you asking this question because I don't have a Tulane logo on? I went to church today. No, I went to church today. I don't wear team issue gear to church. I don't like going to church in Tulane gear. Am I here? I mean, my good. Do you want me to leave? All right. I get asked about it every day right now, and I'm like, I mean, I know we lost 2 games. Everybody wants to run me out of town, but I'm here. I showed up to work today.
I got to ask one more. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Have you interviewed with North Carolina?
I'm not going to comment about hypotheticals, and I'm trying to figure out how we can win a game. And people, look, Gary, people call.
Mm-hmm.
They call my agent. I don't talk to them very often. Like, very little gets to me. Very little. Like, almost nothing gets to me. I'm not talking. When it gets to me, it's usually because I'm like, this is something that could be really something I need to consider. Nothing's getting to me right now.
So there you go. Clearly nothing got to him because he's staying at Tulane, Joe. I know you're making a face.
I mean, sure. His resume, it's funny. He's one of the hot coaches in the business right now.
Mm-hmm.
His resume looks an awful lot like Dave Doran's from when Dave was at Northern Illinois. And I even saw like an on-field interview with him where I was like, ooh. So Carolina may have dodged one there.
Perhaps.
Because, I think Bubba, as Andrew Carter reported, was up in New York this week.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, maybe there was a second meeting with Bill Belichick, but also in New York this week was John Summerall for Tulane. Hey, man, he's sitting it out because he wants to see a better job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame him. He's in a position of leverage. Good for him.
That's the thing that I thought was interesting. Stephen Gottfried, who I hope to connect with this week, he's from Split Zone Duo. He does work for Washington Post. For the Washington Post, he usually does special features for them once a week. He had tweeted this out regarding the North Carolina job and some of these hot names, including somebody like Summerall, where you can say that you got your financial house in order. You can say that we're serious about football, but then there's your actions behind it. And what I said last week when the news of Bill Belichick got out there, which is then backed up with JJ's reporting in CBS, they are acting like a university that is continuing to not be serious about football, that the boosters are still the ones whipping it out to show you how big it is and who their connections are. Because, Joe, there's a picture of Bill Belichick at Keenan when he was a kid. Shout out to Ross Martin, Mr. Big Hitter, going through the whole, Carolina's a big lacrosse school, and you know who loves lacrosse, Joe? And he's got connections to the UNC lacrosse coach. Like, that is just whipping it out to show you who I know and who I talk to. But is that a serious football move? No.
Don't ever forget, if the money doesn't want a coach or doesn't want someone to make a decision, they will find ways to make information known. One of my all-time favorite moments in coaching search history is when John Beeline was at West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
And he was going to get NC State was like the I's were dotted, the T's were crossed. The whole thing was essentially done. Wendell Murphy calls Colton Tudor and says, I think this guy's a little bit too much like Herb. Can you write something that says we're going to talk to Phil Ford? Tudor's like, Phil Ford, Carolina's Phil Ford? Yeah. Yeah, no, we're going to talk to him. Okay. So he writes a story, and Carolina talks to Phil. State talks to Phil Ford. Beeline, yes, there was a buyout. Chip's about to yell at me, but yes, there was a buyout. But the story was
never
written
forget,
because Wendell was like, "This guy's a little bit too much like Herb." Okay, I want to send a message here. I'm calling the shots in this thing, not Lee Fowler.
To get back to Stephen Gottfried's point, coaches talk, coaches know, coaches understand. Yeah, you might say this, but clearly we don't know if you're truly serious about football. Now, all that can change if the price is right.
Well, and I would say this too about Carolina. I think, and this is why initially I had said the names that I had said, I think Carolina makes more sense for an established coach like a Matt Campbell, like an Eli Drinkwitz, like a Riley out in USC.
Yeah.
Because it almost needs to be someone who's seeing the writing on the wall on their own job and looking at it going, you know what?
I got to get ahead of that.
I get ahead of it. But you go to Carolina, again, if you go 9 wins, 10 wins, regular basis, you are a king.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Ryan Day in that same boat. Whereas if you're Sumrall, you're my guy, Glenn Schumann, maybe even Campbell, you're looking at this going, there might be a better opportunity in front of me if I just hold tight. Because again, who knows what's going to happen with the ACC? However, I have an outstanding theory of what could potentially happen.
And what's that?
To the ACC and these schools in the ACC. Are you ready for this?
Give it to me.
Thanks to our friend Fred here. I'm going to point the finger to the passer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The SEC, they're like sitting here going, you know, man, our conference is way too tough. Our conference schedule is way too tough. And then the Alabama guy going as far as to say, man, we got to reevaluate our schedule. Well, Alabama, you don't control your conference schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know what you could do to control your conference schedule? You can add more bad teams that you know you could beat. Ring, ring, ring. Hey, Virginia, you sure you don't want to come to the SEC? Ring, ring, ring. Hey, NC State, wouldn't you love to be in the SEC? Wait, you really like us? You love me? You really love me?
Yeah.
Nah, man, you're the mark. Okay. The SEC needs marks.
Yeah.
That's what they need to look at after this weekend and be like, man, there's a bunch of them in the ACC. SMU's in the playoff.
But Vanderbilt's supposed to be the mark, and Alabama still
Well,
lost.
no.
So.
It's a different Vanderbilt.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a
You're right. One last note about Carolina and this coaching search before we move on to people who are actually hiring some folks. These are the Stephen Godfrey tweets. I figured I would bring them up rather than just reference them. This is from December 5th. Some clarity. UNC met with multiple people, 6 to 7 this week, including Bill Belichick via Zoom. The search is very messy, due in part Mac's public fit. Several key decision makers in the hiring process are very loyal to Mac. Again, all things that we discussed last week. The goal here is to make UNC look like it's hauling in all-star names in a top-level job. The reality is the program is way behind in NIL. Candidates have a lot of questions about logistics and money. UNC has a lot of upside, including the future P2 status. Again, the SEC and the Big Ten obviously would want interest. These are things that I've said last week and the week before and the weeks before that, as far as Bubba Cunningham is concerned, and selling this football job because it's important for the next step in the evolution of college football. So again, all these things track. I know what I've been saying. But like everything UNC football, the idea on paper is not the current reality we are in. But for now, Bill Belichick, OMG, is a PR win while they continue to shovel things internally. Was it a job? Was it a job interview officially? If one side needs it to be, yes. If one side needs plausible deniability, maybe no. This is why you see language like targeting X. X is circling Y job. It's part of the game media willing to play for schools and the coaches. And that's where the second interview, because when we dismissed it, the immediate reaction was, well, what about the second interview? Well, what about the second interview? Like you said, Andrew Carter's reporting. Bubba just happened to be up in New York for other reasons. Who else happened to be up there? Just saying.
Yeah.
Speaking of NC State, we know they're going to play ECU in the Military Bowl.
Yeah.
As the prince that was promised, it was foretold that we were going to get this. Remember the 92 Peach Bowl, Joe? Shout out to Gibby over at CBS 17. Like, he invoked the 92 Peach Bowl, and Dave's like, man, I mean, that was in the 80s. Well, technically, it was 92. Like, I'm a young guy. Like, I don't remember any of that crap, and most people don't. I mean, I had somebody reach out to me about going, oh, Steve Logan stories. I'm like, dude, it's 2024, man. Like, does the 30-something care about the 92 Peach Bowl? No, nobody cares about the 92 Peach Bowl. No. What people seem to be caring about is, I don't want to see ECU. Don't we already see ECU? And I'm thinking to myself, hey, man, it's a bowl game. It's all about an interesting matchup. And Annapolis is a good town. So I like the matchup. I think it'll be fun. I don't take these things too seriously anymore when it comes to bowl games. They cannot be taken too seriously.
I will be there. I'm excited. This is the
fun.
only way I would have gone is if it was ECU and NC State. And also Annapolis. I've been dying for them playing this game.
Go to the boatyard.
You know, like this is one that Dave has turned his nose up at before because it's not a power conference opponent. He famously begged out of this game to play Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt that's the last bowl game they won. No, Arizona State the next year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is a game I've wanted NC State to be in. That it's ECU all the better.
Even better.
And I'll just get ahead of this right now. And we'll say it again on December 27th or whatever day you want me to. I've seen ECU in person twice this year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a very good football team, but I know they will be the Kansas City fucking Chiefs on December 28th. I know exactly what they're going to look like on December 28th in Annapolis.
So I am looking at what do we got here. I am on eBay right now. And I'm
trying to find some 92 Peach Bowl.
Dude, I know it's the end of the year, but 1992 East Carolina Pirates Peach Bowl, $200, $190 with a coupon, Joe. $190 that looks pretty good, man.
Nah, you got to get the picture of the guy reaching for the end. That's the play. I talked to him. Man, what was that? 2012, I guess I talked to him.
Did the 20th year. 20th anniversary. Tony Gibson's off to Marshall.
Marshall taking a pay cut to be the head coach at Marshall.
Hey man, if you want to be a head coach, that's what you might have to do.
Yeah. It's funny.
So, and then look, I watched some of Dave Doran's press conference availability over the weekend when they know what bowl they were going to go to. I think Dave played it right. It's like it's a good look for the program.
Yeah.
When a defensive coordinator who's done a great job, or any coordinator does a great job and moves up, whether it's a head coaching position or they secure the bag at some sort of SEC school or whatever it is, or in some cases taking NFL jobs.
Third member of the Dave Doran coaching tree now.
Right?
You got Drake at Missouri, Tim Beck at Coastal, and now Tony Gibson at Marshall.
Shout out to Charlotte. They hired a real football coach, Joe.
Not Biff and his man boobs.
No. How about that? Tim Albin. He's 3 straight 10-win seasons with Ohio. He replaced Frank Solich. Quick turnaround. I think they only won 3 games his first season. Then 3 straight 10-win seasons, back-to-back bowls, MAC title over the weekend. That looks, based on the resume, Joe, that looks like a real boy over at Charlotte. No gimmicks, no games, just football, baby.
Good for them.
And meanwhile, App State has a new football coach. It's not who you thought it was going to be. It's not who you wanted. It's another one of those names that was a hot thing there for like a moment, and then we kind of forgot about him. But he did a good job at South Carolina as the offensive coordinator. That would be Dowell Logans, who will be the new App State football coach. Again, OC at South Carolina. They closed out the year pretty nicely. And again, good resume. Not a lot of college resume, but again, decent resume in terms of what your football is. But as with the case at Charlotte, as the case with App State, and heck, who knows what happens in North Carolina, you can win a press conference, you can win all sorts of ways, but we don't know.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Inovana. Check them out online at inovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, give it green clean with Inovana.
You can give the gift of Inovana. Just go to the website. You can buy a single cleaning for anybody in your life. It would be helpful ahead of a holiday party or most definitely after the holiday party.
Just for Christmas in general. Man.
Yeah.
Hit them up.
Get that January cleaning ready to go. So again, hit up inovana.com. We're going to be doing the OG Tailgate on Sunday, 5 o'clock face-off at Lenovo Center. What time do you want to get there, by the way?
3?
Games at 5. You want to get there at 3?
Yeah.
You could be working the Smoky Joe?
We're going to get a grill because we need to get one, right?
You tell me, like, are you banned from Kenneth and Butcher's Market?
That's probably for the best. I mean,
Have you asked?
I want Kenneth just to enjoy himself.
Oh, you just want to, you don't think he enjoys himself sweating with that freaking grill?
No.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. You think Kenneth, like when somebody's trying to do something technology-wise and struggling with it, Kenneth won't take over? He's like, move, Joe, move.
Did you hit caps lock?
Move. Did you reboot it? Let me get the Smoky Joe. I'll do that.
No. We're not doing that. We're going to have a nice afternoon with our Nature's Relief people. Anyone who needs to come pick up their OG swag, come get me. That's one of the days you can come get me. So, by the way, shouts to all the people who were in on the initial OG swag rowback run, because you're the ones who actually listened to this program. Congratulations. I feel like the teacher who gave out this, you know how there's a teacher who sends an email with like the answers to the test. Have you ever seen like this on social media? Like the guy's like, hey, if you read the syllabus and answer to this, I'll bring you a bag of candy. Hey, if you read this email, I'll give you a free A for one of your grades. And it's like, the number of people who are like, wait, you guys have OG rowback swag?
What?
I didn't know.
Yeah, well, listen to the program, y'all. In the meantime, go to roback.com right now. Use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. I mentioned the butcher's market. We're not going to put Kenneth to work, but you can put the butcher's market to work for your catering needs.
You should.
That's what it's all about. So go to thebutchersmarkets.com. And of course, our friend Matt Davis over at State Farm. It's the holidays. You got to save money to buy all these gifts, to host all these parties. One easy way to save money: home and auto with our friend Matt Davis over at insuregarner.com, the OGinsurance.com, or you can call him directly at 919-779-8277. One other housekeeping note, as we've been talking about gifts and all this other stuff, you want to give the gift to the OG? There's a way to do that. You can go to breakingtea.com right now, breakingtea.com/OG. Get any number of our shirts and hoodies that Breaking Tea puts together for us with show logos and things like that. Right now, when you use the code OG, just use OG, no numbers, no nothing, just OG, you will, at checkout, get 10% off your OG collection shirt. And between now and the end of the year, Breaking Tea is running a promo where you can add any mystery shirt to your order for free. So 10% off.
Who doesn't love a mystery?
Right. OG, it's like a gift. It's like a surprise.
Double gift.
So you get 10% off your OG shirt and a free mystery tee, all at breakingtea.com. Go to breakingtea.com/OG. All right, from college football to the NFL, the Panthers did it again, Joe. 3 weeks in a row where the Carolina Panthers have the shoulda, coulda, woulda, but they came up just short against another very good team. This time, the Philadelphia Eagles, if Xavier Legette could just hold on to the dang ball, man. I watched that in real time. I watched it live yesterday. I came back from Charleston after another youth hockey trip, and I was able to watch the second half of that game. And what I saw of the Carolina Panthers continues to be optimistic, right? You can see the bones of a football team there when we did not see that all of last year, or really the first two games of this season. I will say this about the Carolina Panthers, and I know there are some listeners who have shared this sentiment. The Panthers, to their credit, have gotten me back to, let me see what they do today, right? Well, let's just see what happens. They did that again. They rewarded me with spending my afternoon watching them rather than putting up more Christmas lights. Now, I say rewarded. I'm not looking for the win. I'm just keep it interesting. Show me you got something. And Bryce Young continues to do that. Bryce Young made some incredible plays with his feet and his arm, okay? They also had some luck go their way to keep some plays alive. And then I thought the last 2 weeks of optimism was going to pay off. We were finally going to get that payoff with a game-winning drive, snapping a win streak out of a Super Bowl contender in the Philadelphia Eagles, except Legette just couldn't hold on to the ball. It's fine. It happens. That's the rookie. Get out to the jugs machine. Go work on it. You know, we've seen rookie wide receivers overcome drop passes to then have really great careers. That's not a big deal. That's just not a big deal to me. To me, it's showing you that there's the bones of an actual football team there, that Bryce Young might have something. And Dave Canales seems to be growing into a head coach by understanding, hey, man, I'm going to be aggressive here and try to do the fourth down conversion, all that kind of stuff. So it's just progress. I know that you want to get the win. That's probably the frustrating aspect of this, Joe, but I'm looking at it really from the totality of the last 3 weeks of a normal-ass football team with an opportunity to win against some big opponents.
Yeah, the Chiefs and the Eagles very well could meet in the Super Bowl again.
They could.
And here you are, the Carolina Panthers, and you've taken both of those teams to the edge. But hit the button, man.
you got something good?
Tell me something good.
Hey, Carolina Panthers, they lost, but they have now lost 3 in a row, which means they're now up to the number 4 pick in the NFL draft next year. And they still have their first round pick. And by the way that Bryce Young has played over these last month, they don't need to take a quarterback with that number 4 pick. So congratulations. Now losing to beating Dallas next week would not be good. Just so you know.
No, come on.
That would not be something good.
At some point, you got to have all this shoulda, coulda, woulda, and it pay off
in a
win. You want it to pay off in a win.
Yeah. Well, the meat of their schedule, they've gone through the teeth of it, if you will. Now they close with Dallas, Arizona, Tampa, Atlanta. Listen, the more you win, the more you hurt yourself with that draft pick. I'm just going to say that. Four is a nice place to be because you know other teams are going to reach for quarterback. And just like last year where the Cardinals were and they didn't take a quarterback, you might actually end up with the best player in the draft.
I believe I saw this term used. I forgot who said it, so apologies. But it was very, very funny. That the Carolina Panthers are essentially engaging in ethical tanking. Right?
It's a good way to do it.
Ethical tanking. Like you're not outwardly going out there to suck. Clearly, everybody wants to win, and you're giving fans a reason to watch on a Sunday, but you keep coming up short. But that's not the worst thing, given where you are in the life cycle of this franchise. You need more picks. You need good draft picks. And yes, to your point, and I'll just go back to that. I know I've said it over the last couple of weeks. At the very least, I don't know what Bryce Young's future holds, but at the very least, Bryce Young has done enough to earn himself another shot at this next year with a better team around him. And that's why I keep using the term bones, right? They do have to get, they got to get healthier.
Right.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, you see what you're missing. You go out and you acquire it. And also, I would say, and this is, I think, this is a correlation. This is not just something that happens to be happenstance, right? This is not a coincidence. They've used the year to identify what works, what doesn't, who needs to be here, who doesn't need to be here. That's come in the form of the Deontay Johnson trade, as we talked about last week. Tell me something good. He's, serving suspensions, team suspensions, right, with Baltimore. It's not a coincidence that this offense has gotten better when you don't have people on the roster that are pouting about catches and playing time and everything else. But also, you don't want to see Jonathan Brooks go out with an injury, right? You don't want to see that. You don't want to be essentially down to Chuba Hubbard for your running back. So that's another reason why I'm looking at this of just having good bone right now.
And all of our focus right now is on offense for sure, for those reasons. But the truth of the matter is their defense was god-awful the first 8 weeks of the season.
It was, yes.
Since then, they have been much better. They've gotten players back. They've gotten players healthy. And I think one of the really smart things was hanging on to Clowney, because I feel like he's been a difference maker for them. They just need more better players. And the best way to get more better players is through the draft and to make good draft picks. And they have to demonstrate an ability to do that.
Now, there's another story here that you're going to have to explain to me on explain sports wagering like I'm 5. Okay, so let's bounce around the NFL a little bit here. The Carolina Panthers were a 2-touchdown dog to the Eagles going into this game. I think last week you were like, no, Panthers will cover that, right?
Yeah.
So that paid off. ESPN has a story this morning on somebody dropping $3 million, just over $3 million, $3.1 million on the Eagles to beat the Panthers at -700 money line. That does not seem like a sound bet. Turns out that he would have won just around $500,000 for betting $3.1 million. You bet 3.1 to get like $450,000. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
At -700.
For every $700 you bet, you win 100.
Okay. Why would you do that?
No, it paid off for this person. They have $500,000 more
it almost
than they
didn't. Like I said, if Liggett actually catches that ball, that $3.1 million is up in smoke. That's the house's money.
It's again, these are Michael Jordan problems. You tell those stories where you're like, man, remember that time I lost $3 million on the Eagles? That was awesome.
Now, here's the part that I thought was interesting. This bet was made, again, please explain this to me like I'm 5. This bet was made on Circa Sports. That's where that line was.
Okay.
According to the ESPN story, Circa actually lowered the Eagles' money line to -870 and increased the Panthers to +670 as a result of $3.1 million being put on -700. And this is from the quote, the owner of Circa Sport telling ESPN, quote, "I told my guys in the risk room to go work and get some buyback on the Panthers. With us being in 5 states now, we should have the liquidity to get enough buyback to where we end up needing the Eagles."
Okay. Yeah. And what he's trying to say is instead of the loss coming out of their pocket, he would like that loss to be softened by the payout to the Panthers. So you're getting money in, money goes out, instead of just one person coming to me and saying, here's $3 million. Now all of a sudden you got to cover it.
So that's my question.
Yeah.
I see that And my brain says, are you not good for the money? Because I feel like sometimes these books are, it's not DraftKings, right? Like we understand the DraftKings financials. Shout out to our corporate champions.
Sure.
I feel like a smaller one, $3.1 million could put them out.
No, Circa's known for their high limit sports betting.
That's what it is?
That's their niche.
Okay.
So that's why we're not exactly familiar with them.
I see. Well, are you saying that Circa's not about that $5 game?
They are not. They are not.
But DraftKings, they are. Just say
they are.
Just say it. Okay, I was just curious about that.
That was more of him trying to say, yes, I can cover your $3 million bet, but I'd rather have a bunch of people pay me the other way so that I can just redistribute their money to you.
I see. Elsewhere in the NFL, look at that. The Chiefs winning another division. That's 9 in a row, and it happened in the most Chiefs way possible with a doink, of course.
So a couple of years ago, you had a theory about Giselle.
Mm-hmm.
She was a witch.
Yeah.
In that.
No. She is. Yeah, okay. She dabbles.
A couple of years ago, you had that theory. You advanced that theory. And I thought to myself, well, how did Tom Brady get Seattle to call the single dumbest play in the history of the Super Bowl?
Sure.
How did Tom Brady get the Atlanta Falcons to blow a 28-3 lead? Like, how did all of this happen? What did he do to become the luckiest of all time? The tuck roll at the very beginning of his career against the Raiders in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm wondering if Taylor Swift and Giselle aren't on the same end of that spectrum, because now that Travis Kelce has this relationship with Taylor Swift and they've been blessed by the queen there, they got some kind of dark magic working their way. Because now you have the backup kicker. Remember, I predicted this year.
Oh, right.
It wouldn't be the cheetah who sinks them. It would be the kicker.
Yeah.
No. That guy's hurt, which go figure. And now you have this new guy come in who's been pretty good, but he doinks this 32-yarder.
Mm-hmm.
This is 2 weeks after they win a game by blocking a field goal.
Right. Wow. That's 15 consecutive wins in one-score games.
And obviously all 15 of those would be in the Kelce era, if you will.
They are in the Kelce era, but it does not translate into the Taylor Swift era.
Relationship does not.
Okay. There's now obviously a good chunk of them have happened in the Taylor Swift relationship.
Okay.
I'll have to go back and there's a little research for me while I'm sitting at a Invisalign Arena later today.
Well, I think you got it right.
I think I have to check this
all
out.
those years ago, you were an early mover on Giselle
mm-hmm.
and the dark arts, and I think Taylor Swift's got that going.
Well, Taylor Swift just wrapped up her Eras tour. I think she made $7 billion on this tour.
With a B.
$7 billion. I think she can cover the losses for Circa Sports. Just saying. But $7 billion having wrapping up the Eras tour. She likes her fans, the Swifties, like to refer to her as the mastermind.
Oh,
there's a track at the end of Midnights, right? That is called Mastermind. She's putting all this together. She's thought this all the way through. And it just so happens that we're getting into crunch time of the NFL. NFL regular season's wrapping up. We're getting into the playoffs. The tour ends when they clinch their 9th straight division title. You telling me that wasn't planned? The mastermind didn't plan that? I'm in on this Swiftie stuff. They're going to win 3 in a row, and they're going to win it on a one possession game.
It's got to be
a one-score game.
Wonky, right?
Yeah, it has to be wonky. That's where we are right now. And here's the other thing that's benefiting the Kansas City Chiefs. As they won their division, they continue to win these one-score games. The Bills were in a temperature-controlled environment against the Los Angeles Rams. They got themselves into a shootout. Josh Allen was bonkers.
Woo!
Goodness gracious. And yet, they got Puka Nacua all day long. Didn't matter how good Josh Allen looked in this game. He did it all. But so did Puka Nacua. And the Bills lost in their temperature-controlled environment in L.A., meaning that they're now 2 games behind the Chiefs for the best AFC record for that top spot, meaning they are losing home field advantage, which, you know me and my stance on this, that shit matters for the Buffalo Bills. They're a different team when they're at home. That is by design. That's why their new stadium doesn't have a roof, because it's by design. And they're playing that kind of bully ball that helps you in those environments. Didn't seem to work out in the Joe Giglio rules for the Buffalo Bills. Now, did it?
Well, you see,
You see what had happened was
the Rams also got to play in those perfect conditions.
Oh, that's what it was. So Puka Nacua had no issues whatsoever.
No, exactly. Yeah, the Niners had to freeze their dicks off the week before. The Rams were like, man, we got this. What happened to Buffalo's defense? Is my question.
Great freaking question.
44 points.
Great
Goodness
freaking
gracious.
question. I just thought, as I was watching that game wrap up, I'm like, that's the score, and that's how they're losing, huh? Would have won in the snow, Joe. Would have won in the snow. Just say it. New York football.
Ooh.
Why? That's my question. What is the point? New York football now a combined 5-21 this year, and they're finding excruciating ways to lose. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, congratulations. You finally threw for over 300 yards in a football game in over 1,000 days. Huzzah! You still lost in overtime to a very mid Dolphins team. Hey, New York Giants, you needed a field goal to win.
Again.
What happened again?
Ugh.
Got blocked. There's been an uptick in blocked field goals, by the way, this year. So go ahead and sneeze over there. So I see this with the New York football teams, and then I saw the headline this morning coming out of New York, and I am ready to proclaim this once and for all. New York is no longer a football town. It is, and maybe always has been, just dabbled in football. They are a baseball town, straight up. Juan Soto with a historic contract with the Mets. Speaking of things that happened in New York, what could go wrong?
Did they exhume Bernie Madoff's remains to give this guy a 15-year, $765 million contract that works out to $51 million per year? Obviously, it won't work. It won't be paid all out that way.
There's no deferred money, right?
I'm sure some of it is going to be at the end.
Okay.
Soto is 26 years old. 26. That's kind of amazing if you think about it, because you would have thought he was older than that. 765 mil, man. 15 years. So the Mets come in, swoop in. I'll just say this. I'm glad it wasn't the Dodgers. Because if he had signed with the Dodgers, it's just like, throw it away. Just do it again.
This is from Jeff Pass, and the deal includes an opt-out after 5 years, no deferred money. If Soto chooses not to opt out, his deal would go up $4 million per year, from $51 million to $55 million for the remainder of the contract, meaning the deal's total value would exceed $800 million. The contract also includes $75 million in signing bonuses. So congratulations. This deal is not going to work out for the Mets. And again, a smarter person can answer this for me, but I feel like these deals never actually work out for baseball teams, and yet they continue to do them. Why? And of course, the Mets, salary cap, man. Maybe it's time. Honestly, maybe it's time because what's going to happen is they dole out a contract like this, and then the owners will go scream about have to rework the credentials, or their financials, I should say. This happens in every sport. The NHL was drunk with all sorts of stupid ass contracts. All right, and they have to put these things in place to protect themselves. It's just, once again, owners thinking, I know how I'm going to solve this problem. I'm going to throw, and then they go, but we're never making any money. But again, I feel like that's something that's somebody that's smarter than me will be able to answer, because certainly I don't understand the financials between Juan Soto getting this kind of money and how it's going to work out for the Mets in the end. I just don't. Good for Soto, though. I'm not begrudging him, man. I mean, maybe one day we'll actually have a new day that we can celebrate instead of Bobby Bonilla Day. Perhaps we'll have a Soto Day. Maybe we'll celebrate them on the same day.
I'm pretty sure Ohtani's going to be getting paid until like 2075 or something like that.
Well, honestly, now that I think about this, really what you should do as a parent, if you want to win the lottery ticket, you want the scratch off, you don't put a golf club in their hand. You certainly don't put a hockey stick in their hand. You do not put a basketball in the palm of their hand. No. Get the Glavolium right now. Start working that Rawlings mitt so that it's perfectly formed and fitted and ready to go, and that they can hit a curveball. And if that's the case, you'll be set for life, as we've seen in Major League Baseball. Joe, I am here to tell you I had a transformative experience in a pair of home field apparel sweatpants. You know me. I am not a sweatpants guy.
Okay.
Like you rolling up to the store in your sweatpants, I'm going to judge you.
Oh, okay.
Put some freaking jeans on.
Oh,
Put shorts on.
oh,
okay.
I did not know about this about you.
Yeah, I am very anti wearing sweatpants.
What do you do when you drop your kids off at school then? Like
I put jeans on like a
not
normal
you,
person.
I'm talking about all the kids in the school who like wear their pajamas to school.
I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. Like I
saw a grown ass adult yesterday wearing a onesie like sleepy time pajama out at the Staples where I went and picked up the bubble mailers.
Yeah.
Which I got on sale. Which I was very proud of myself for.
Good for you.
I'm finally learning how to save money for the OG Media LLC.
Good for you.
Very proud of myself. But yeah, grown ass woman. And not like being like one of these cosplay, like there's a convention in town. No, I was like, I'm going to pick up like inkjet for the printer in a full ass onesie.
Okay. Like let them do them. I'm talking about you dudes. I'm talking to the dudes.
It is a home field ad. So I mean we can go down these tangents.
No, I get that. I get that. And home field has apparel for everybody. Okay. But I'm specifically talking to the dudes when it comes to sweatpants. All right. Like put some jeans on, put some shorts on.
I can tell you confidently that neither one of my kids, age 19 and 16, have ever worn a pair of jeans in their life.
Ever?
Ever.
All Caleb wears is jeans.
Nope.
Jacob is a shorts kid. He doesn't. Is it 35 degrees outside? He's wearing shorts.
Yeah.
He's wearing shorts and a hoodie. That's his look. You go down that path. You're either going to wear jeans, but apparently there's the sweatpants. But anyway, I get off the tangent. The point is, the home field sweatpants are so comfortable.
They're changing your mind.
That I might actually show up to Target in sweatpants.
They're making you a believer.
They're making me. I'm like, you know what? These look so good and they're so comfortable. I don't want to take them off. For instance, I was in Charleston over the weekend.
Okay.
For some away exhibition games. And it's like 9:30 at night. I had just spent the day, hockey in the morning. You went to Patriots Point to check out the aircraft carrier with some of the kids. Ended up at Fleet Landing for dinner. Get back to the hotel. The SMU Clemson game is on. And jeans off, sweatpants on. And Shane calls me up. He's like, hey, man, I'm going across the street to grab a beer and watch some football. And I said, Shane, pants are off, buddy. I ain't leaving. And the big reason why is because the home field sweats were on. Why would I leave this? Maybe I should have gone to the bar in the sweatpants. Yeah. So all this is to say that these are so comfortable.
Making you change your perception of people who wear sweatpants.
Yes. Maybe I've just been wearing the wrong sweatpants this entire time.
Apparently
I have. I should have gone home field a long time ago. So use that promo code OG24 right now, today only. If you're listening on Monday, they got to buy one, get one 30% off.
I was going to say, I just saw something pop in my email.
So I might take advantage of that. I might buy 2 more pairs of sweatpants.
Okay.
One at full price, one for 30% off. So go to homefieldapparel.com. And if you really want to just melt into your couch, put on the Home Field Apparel sweatpants with Nature's Relief in hand. Now you're really never leaving the house.
We're cooking with gas.
Now we're talking. Go to naturesreliefhempstore.com. I was talking about this with somebody yesterday, actually. And they're like, well, I was up in Massachusetts and I was trying to I'm like, just go to Nature's Relief. Well, I don't know. No, go to Nature's Relief. This is the real deal. There's not like some better stuff in another state. Like, no. In this state, you can get the stuff. Okay. And they've got it at Nature's Relief, THCA, Delta 9, Delta 8. They got all that stuff. They got the sippers. They got the CBD to help you sleep. They got everything that you need. So go to naturesreliefhempstore.com. Big thanks to O2 Fitness. Maybe you don't want to melt on your couch. You want to be a little active, right? That's when you go to O2 Fitness. As we know, O2 Fitness is more than a gym.
O2 Fitness, so much more than a gym.
You're going to Renew Physiotherapy today, right?
I am.
Very
I'm on
nice.
my way. Chris is going to take care of me. It's been a journey, man. It's been an interesting journey as well. I'm learning.
Okay.
About my neck and arthritis and movements and stretching and what works and what doesn't work. And there are no easy fixes.
No, there's not.
It's a process.
No, there's not. And it all starts by visiting their website. Go to o2fitnessclubs.com to find out more. Again, o2fitnessclubs.com. And the lightning round is brought to you by Sam Jones Barbecue. Actually, we should dub the ECU NC State Military Bowl the Sam Jones Bowl. Greenville, Raleigh, Sam Jones Barbecue in Greenville, Sam Jones Barbecue in Raleigh.
Done.
Put it together. The winner just gets an entire, you get a whole hog. That's what you get. Maybe, I don't know. I'm workshopping this. But the point is, Sam Jones, it's a North Carolina institution, and there's a location in Raleigh that you can take advantage of. Look, you're going downtown to check out the Illuminate Art Walk and all that kind of stuff. Go to Sam Jones before you head over to Fayetteville Street and the surrounding areas for a nice dinner out, and then you can enjoy some holiday fun. So big thanks to Sam Jones for sponsoring the lightning round. Let's actually start with some ACC hoops. NC State, Florida State, a squeaker, Joe, but we have a potential developing story in Raleigh.
Tell us who drives the bus. Tell us who drives the bus.
Is Dontrez Styles the bus driver?
He's trying to be.
Huh?
We still haven't seen Mike James yet. I'm starting to be concerned that we haven't seen Mike James yet.
But Styles,
For the Wolfpack.
Styles has responded to a push from Kevin Keats the last two games. That's good to see. That's good to see out of NC State. And again, it's all part of that process with the Wolfpack of trying to understand what this team is, so that by the time you get to January, we'll see if they can lock in and then go from there. So yeah, the development of Styles, not the development. I mean, he's a grown-ass player at this point, but to see him responding and to see him be comfortable with what he's doing at NC State is good to see. And most importantly for NC State, and this gets back to something that this is a larger ACC problem that we can get into, and maybe it transitions us into the North Carolina Georgia Tech game, right? The only way State at this point, given their non-conference schedule and the lack of wins, is they're going to have to take care of some serious business in the ACC.
They're going to have to do the thing that you always want them to do.
And that is?
Not lose the dumb games.
Don't lose the dumb games. We have officially entered into the don't lose the dumb games protocol. And losing at home
One
to
game
Florida
into
State,
the ACC season.
losing at home to Florida State would qualify as the don't lose the dumb games. Okay? And
I mean, that's not fair to Florida State. I don't think they're one of those terrible teams.
But here's where we're at with the ACC. Given the week that we've had last week with the SEC ACC Challenge and things like that. And again, we're going to have to talk to Patrick Stevens at some point here soon, because he can better math explain this to me. But I think we can all agree, without being a math major, that the math is not going to math for the ACC this year.
No,
in basketball.
It's going to be a challenge.
And the only way for that to work for the ACC to get multiple teams in the NCAA tournament, we're talking like 5 teams, is you're going to need the top 4 tier teams to hammer the bottom tier teams to help the math out. And then you're looking for that 5th team, let's say NC State, to pluck one off here and there. And that be the only, if Duke only loses twice, it has to be to a team that is flirting with making the NCAA tournament. Not a team that, like, say, no offense to Georgia Tech, you can't lose to Georgia Tech. You can't lose to Virginia Tech. You can't do any of that stuff, right?
Virginia Tech is not good.
No. But Pitt,
they tried.
North Carolina hasn't necessarily worked out for you in the non-conference, but you know what you can't do? You
lose
can't
at home to GT.
Lose at home to Georgia Tech, which
There are many topics for lightning round today on OMG.
is that a Georgia Tech problem or a North Carolina problem?
Well, North Carolina as a whole has a Georgia Tech, Atlanta soft spot. Like anytime football, basketball, or random things happen. I know this game was in Chapel Hill.
Right.
How about I just tell you something good? You want to hit the button?
Yeah. Okay. Usually it's for the Panthers, but okay.
Tell me something good.
Other than a win over American University, the 65 points that they gave up to Georgia Tech, fewest they've given up all year.
Basketball game did set basketball back a few years, but
credit. You wanted more defense? They played more defense.
That game was gross.
Hey, you want more defense?
Is that a Tony Bennett tribute?
No, I don't think Tony would appreciate this one.
No. This one was just bad. This was not like some sort of defensive showdown. It was just called, as old producer Alec Campbell used to dub it, the Festival of Missed Jumpers.
Yeah, there is that. Carolina's got to start figuring out how to make some 3-point shots, because when you're not big and you're not especially deep, the one equalizer is to shoot the ball well from the outside. 5 of 24 in this game from the outside. And again, RJ Davis and Cadeau combined 3 for 14. That's not going to get it done for you.
Because that's where the consistency is going to come in. I think I've seen enough out of North Carolina to know that you're not going to get a consistent night out of them defensively. And as we talked about with Brendan Marks last week, and I think everybody kind of recognized in the Alabama loss last week, size leads into their defensive deficiencies. So how are you going to win these games? It's the old, shall I dust off the old Herb Sendek?
2 different ways.
There's 2 different ways to win a basketball game, Joe. You can stop the other team from scoring more than you. That's proving to be very difficult for the Tar Heels.
Yeah.
Or you can just score more than the other teams. That is more plausible for the Tar Heels. But again, we haven't seen that consistently enough out of North Carolina. Sometimes it comes and goes. We shall see. We've seen this out of North Carolina before with Hubert Davis. They'll go through, as Rod Brindamore would call it, the dip. And then once we get into ACC play, you'll find themselves getting a little bit more comfortable. And I'm confident that they should be fine offensively. The defense, I'm starting to just realize it is what it is. Meanwhile, over to Duke, where I understood that the win over Auburn was this big, like, hey, man, we're more than Cooper Flagg, okay? Down the stretch, we're going to find some other guys stepping up to make big plays. Hey, man, remember Tyrese Proctor? Big 3. Zion James? Big sequences. All right, cool. Message received. But maybe John Shire wanted to make you doubly sure that they can win without Cooper Flagg. I know what we're going to do. He called in the officials for a favor against Louisville on Sunday. Hey. I need a little controlled scrimmage thing to play out here. Can we put Cooper Flagg in foul trouble? Can you just do me that favor? Like, I'm not going to tell the team. I'm not going to let them know this. I just want this to naturally happen so that they find themselves in a situation where they're going to have to win a game without Cooper Flagg. Cool? And the official was like, John, we got you. And that's exactly how it played out, Joe. All according to plan.
Can I be the one who sends the box score to Bruce Pearl?
Sure. What are you highlighting here?
Isaiah Evans, 0 for 2 from 3.
Yeah.
On the road. It's wild. No,
nobody thought that Isaiah Evans was going to be like.
No, I'm just saying, like, the one-off at home is going to happen.
I know.
I think Louisville's a good team. They got a lot of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the foul trouble for Flagg, as you're pointing out, it turns out to be a good thing. He's able to come back in the second half and play the way that he did. I would just say I'm getting a little bit concerned about Mal Watch.
Okay.
It's tough at that size. You know, as Kevin would point out often with DJ Burns, like, people would be like, why was DJ Burns so much more effective in a power conference than he was, say, at Winthrop?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, yeah, usually power conference teams have bigs and I can keep them on the floor. But at Winthrop, it's like, people are going to go 5 wide, spread them out, and take them off the dribble.
Yeah.
And you're seeing a little bit of that. His minutes are down. And that's where I'm looking at these last 2 games. Like, I feel like he has to be a serious factor. 15 minutes against Auburn, 11 against Louisville, no blocks in either games. 5 total rebounds, 4 total points. That they need more out of him, in part because he needs to be on the floor, almost like Mark Williams that year that they figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mark Williams was never like this amazing player,
but he got blocks.
And he affected the game, and he helped the other players, and they figured out how to use him in pick and roll situations. And I get it, Carolina. Yes, it was Caleb Love who dotted Mark Williams. I get that, but ultimately he became a productive player for them and helped them.
We've got a lot to get to. It's a lightning round.
Carolina Hurricanes are back in action this week. They wrapped up their long homestand and they got themselves out of whatever funk they were in. Again, the Carolina Hurricanes with Rod Brindamore seem to follow this pattern. They lose a game. Rod Brindamore is like, our best players need to step up. We need more out of these guys. And then last Thursday, you were there in the building against Colorado. And that's exactly what happened. Jarvis, produces. Marty Natchez, what power play goal, which was crucial. And hey, look at that. Look at the point production from Andrei Svechnikov. Let's take away yet another empty net. He's the empty net king. But for the most part, Andrei Svechnikov stepped up to the challenge. Now it's just a matter of can they consistently get back to that. As I said, Canes always do this under Rod Brindamore. Everybody kind of has this weird freak out. They get challenged. They'll respond. They will answer. Maybe they were all feeling frosty after being named to 4 Nations Cup teams and everything else, right? But there it was. Now the question is, can you continue these things?
Yeah, and they lose to the Islanders over the weekend. They have a wonky second period where they give up 4 goals.
But Svechnikov produced.
He did. And now you get the JV Sharks on Tuesday.
Yes.
The AHL. They're not even an AHL. They're an ECHL team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
now the wonky thing about the 4 goals, that was the thing that I had jotted down. Because in the back of my mind, the goalie situation continues to be relevant. Okay, cool. You got Kochetkov back. We don't know the deal with Freddie Anderson when exactly he will be back, but you're going to have to just ride this out with Adam. I think we all understand that. And I think the concern would be, we talk about consistency. Do you just accept the high variance of what's going to happen in goal?
You would want him to be more consistent. And to be fair, he was coming off a concussion.
I get it.
So now you got 2 games back.
Yep.
I suspect we see the journeyman on Tuesday night. So
I can see that.
We'll see if he's better than the one that they had sent down back to Chicago. So we'll see. I don't worry about the Canes.
Nope.
I do worry in the sense of long term what their goaltending situation is. Short term, long term. But as we've seen with Kochetkov, the more he plays, usually the better he gets.
Mm-hmm. Big thanks to Hometown Realty. Check them out, myhtr.com. Buy and sell with confidence. You're in hosting mode right now. Maybe you got family coming in. Maybe you're going to go to a house for a party and you get a little jealous. Like, wow, look at all this new construction. Look at these great appliances. Man,
Wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be lovely. Well, you buy and sell with confidence. Go to our friends, Hometown Realty. You buy and sell that house, you can contact our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out at wh.lawyer. Whitaker and Hamer, attorneys and counselors at law, can help you out. So you might just have something simple as you're traveling, you get a traffic violation. They can handle that for you. Or you're looking for some legal needs with your small to medium-sized business. Again, they can help you out with that kind of stuff. One-stop shop, attorneys and counselors at law. And speaking of travel, you need to go ahead and pick up some stuff on your way for a road trip, fill up the tank, hit a breeze through before you go. But may I suggest for Adam over at Breeze Through?
Adam's feeling good. His dogs
I know.
won.
His dogs won. I think Breeze Through needs a mascot.
Ooh.
I was at a very large gas station on my way back up, and they had the mascot dressed up as Santa Claus.
Oh,
it was adorable. But I think Breeze Through needs to step it up and compete with their own mascot that they can dress up as Santa Claus this time of the year. What do you think?
We'll pass that along.
Well, Adam, we're passing it along right now. I don't know. Maybe next Christmas with Breeze Through, we are the Santa Claus. You come to the beer cave.
How jump? Yeah. How high?
Yeah. Adam wants us to be in the beer cave to have kids, tell us.
Yeah,
I
would be a lot warmer if I had a Santa outfit on. I'll tell you that.
Look, Breeze Through is great. Clean bathrooms, great snacks, awesome beer cave, and of course, convenient locations. That's what it's all about. So go check out breezethrough.com. All right, back to the college football playoff. We've got David Hale, ESPN, ACC Network, joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. David, it was a Christmas miracle. Christmas came early. Something actually went right for the ACC for once last week. Let's not talk about the SEC, ACC basketball challenge. Let's not talk about the regular season finale with Clemson and South Carolina and Miami. No. Let's focus on the positives. They got 2 teams in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I'm still. I feel like this is still going to somehow work out worse. Like it's going to bump the ACC up to a higher tax bracket that is actually going to net them less money somehow. I don't know how this is going to be bad. I just know that it's somehow going to be bad.
I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. It's going to work out terribly for everybody. Here's the thing. I almost Jim Phillips, ACC, I'm trying to find the right way to put this. Jim Phillips, ACC commissioner, started off the year in a bad PR spot. I think we could all agree with that, right? With the Florida State thing and kind of an antiquated PR approach. To his credit, to the league's credit, they have done a much better job of they're trying. They're trying to find their sea legs when it comes to the PR messaging. And Jim Phillips has made himself more available. Heck, I saw him on Saturday, it was Saturday during College Game Day, stumping for the league and making the correct points about conference championships and why they should matter and not being punished because you lose in a conference championship game and things like that. So I feel like after all the hand-wringing and the pounding of the table about how Jim Phillips needs to do something, he has. So salute, I give him credit for that. Now it's the ACC's turn, the coach's turn to actually do something, right? Like Florida State can't crap the bed this football season. Miami can't look at an opportunity to just take care of business and hammer, take care of business against Syracuse. The ACC was looking at the potential of 3 teams getting in the college football playoff before the regular season finale. The fact that they got 2 is good, but it's almost like y'all could have had a better year. You got to double down on the talk by actually having the results on the field, right?
This has been, look, is there things, to your point, that the ACC could have done better in myriad other ways? Absolutely. But much like the message that I wish the committee would take under consideration, at the end of the day, winning is everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the wins, all of the rest of it is window dressing. And yes, the ACC had done a poor job of dressing its windows, but at some point, you're a snake oil salesman just trying to sell something that has no real value underneath. You have to have the value too. And like a 2-10 season from Florida State ain't getting it done. Miami shooting itself in the foot after a 21-0 lead against Syracuse ain't getting it done. And good on Clemson to find their way into this playoff through the back door. That's better than nothing. But letting Lenore's Sellers run wild in the fourth quarter ain't getting it done. And if you beat South Carolina in that game, as they were perfectly set up to do with under a minute to play, there's not an argument from the SEC about how this is screwing them. It is strictly, well, Clemson earned its way in.
Mm-hmm.
And and look, again, you're getting a team in that's good. It means more money for the league. It means more exposure. All of that stuff is good. But at the end of the day, there is a larger issue that is certainly not just exclusive to the ACC, but have the finances and the talent drain and the attention drain created such a distinct advantage for 1 to 2 conferences that in the long run, you can sneak in through the back door as many times as you want, but the back door is the only way you're getting anywhere. That's a problem that I think is still very much looming on the horizon. And the only way to address that is to win games you need to win.
I'm glad you put it that way, because there's a lot of talk in the previous 2 weeks about good losses and who the losses were to. And I'll tell you, the one thing that the NCAA basketball committees get correct is they do not reward losses. They don't care who they are to. You cannot get into the business of rewarding losses and judging losses. It has to be based on what you've done, how you've won the games, and the number of games that you won. So I'm glad that they were that. But let me ask you this, David, and you probably have a better feel for this than I do. And I don't know how many conversations you've had with your colleague Heather Dinich about this, but who do you think ran this college football playoff selection committee? Who do you think the dominant voice in the room was?
I think it would be hard to suggest that there was not a starting point that said the Big Ten was better than the Big Ten might actually be.
Okay.
Now, who's responsible for that? I'm not going to. There's an AD at the prior to last week defending Big Ten champion running the whole show. I hesitate to say point fingers at him. But to me,
it's like that first year you had
Barry Alvarez was one of the ones who really pushed things the first year.
Yeah, I think there was guys in there. You're like, okay, these are the dominant personalities in the room. I ask you this because, in this sense, you can look at this and go, somebody did the ACC a favor here. Mm-hmm. You could look at it that way. And if we're going to blame Jim Phillips last year or Boo Corrigan last year, well, then somebody needs to get the credit this year, right? If we want to look at it that way. Or
I think you can look at it as they did the Big Ten or the ACC a favor, but here's my more skeptical approach to this, which is they viewed ruining conference championships as a genuine financial problem for all of college football. It just so happened that the ACC was the beneficiary of appreciating that we cannot shoot this golden goose to get Alabama in. I mean, again, maybe I am just way too cynical. I'm not sure that I am, based on every other decision in college football coming down to dollars and cents. But my thought is that if it made more financial sense to get Alabama into the playoff, then Alabama would be on the playoff. But it makes more financial sense not to completely upend a model that has worked financially for 2+ decades at this point. And that beneficiary was SMU. It wasn't the ACC. It was all of college football benefiting from the money that comes from conference championship games.
Same with Penn State. I would add.
It's funny to me how much Penn State was not even a part of this conversation.
The second I saw them ahead of Ohio State, I said to myself, SMU is going to get in because of what your previous point there is. They're protecting the teams who are in these championship games. They cannot punish them for participating in a game when you're saying the previous week, you're in. You're in.
Now, SMU made it easier for this decision to be made, by the way.
I think it might have gone the other way. It might have gone the other way if that game finishes 48-10 or something like that, which certainly it was trending in that direction. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I think what happened to Florida State last year is an absolute travesty. But because of the Jordan Travis injury, they had enough evidence to say, no, we're not setting a precedent. This isn't a rule. This is an exception. And so they could look at SMU and say, like, well, you lost by 30. This isn't a rule. This is an exception. SMU did not give them the opportunity to say, you are an exception to the rule.
Can't wait for Georgia's backup quarterback to start playoff game.
Why? Whatever do you mean, Joe?
What? What do you mean? That's wild.
Yeah. But hotshot Georgia recruits with that name get the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, Gunnar Stockton, Brock Glenn. These are, if this was a movie, those are interchangeable names someone made up for a Southern quarterback.
All right. So Giglio likes to break out the stat of all the times Clemson has lost in an ACC championship game. Do you have that
2015.
Stat? Since 2015.
Here it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the list.
Yep.
Doesn't happen.
Yep.
Dabo seems to be feeling it. We got Chatty Dabo back. I like to dub David Hale of ESPN the Dabo Whisperer. He's a man who understands Dabo like nobody else. Based on what we've seen throughout the entirety of college football, sometimes we get a little too wrapped up in Clemson being elite, but there's just not a lot of elite in the college football playoff. What? Dabo's saying the right things. Can we see a little bit of a surprise out of Clemson in the college football playoff?
So I'm going to give you a very unwieldy, long backstory to this, because that is what translates well to this new medium of interneting storytelling.
And podcast places, David.
So I last week, Dabo had two different public press conferences, one on Sunday for the ACC championship game and one Friday right before the game. And in both of them, he made poker analogies, including on Friday, which is the only thing you need is a chip and a chair. And I thought that's interesting because Dabo to me does not strike me as a poker player. If for no other reason, I mean, he's a very wholesome guy, but also because I feel like if he was holding a good hand, you would not be able to. He's not a bluffer. You're going to know what Dabo's feeling at all times, but neither here nor there. So I see Dabo before walkthroughs on Friday, and I say, Dabo, playing a lot of poker lately? I mean, making some poker analogies, and I get the typical Dabo. Well, we all, me and the boys, we get together, we play for fun, now they got real jobs, we play a little bit of stakes here. Yeah, I don't know, Dabo, we're going to have some fun playing some poker. And he tells me, though, that he has a nickname as a poker player, which is Old Sweeney Two Pair. And he explains this as he keeps playing when he should not be playing, because he'll have like a crappy, he'll be dealt like a pair of twos, and then he always gets like the card he needs on the river to win with two pair. And everyone hates him for this because he should have folded, and yet here he is still winning at the end. And of course, because it's Dabo, he turns this into the analogy about the rock versus the river, because the river always going to win, but the rock's got to it's got to stay there and keep fighting. And I saw him after the game, and I said, "Old Sweeney Two Pair does it again." And he says, "Exactly what happened." So here we are in the playoff, and doubt Clemson, if you will, because everyone is going to doubt them. But Old Sweeney Two Pair finds his way, because the river's going to keep coming, but he ain't backing down.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Aren't you glad that we went down this road?
Put it on a t-shirt. That is such a Dabo story. I'm so glad you told us that story. That's amazing. That is amazing.
I'm also slightly disappointed in you that you thought Dabo wasn't a poker player. Buddy was in a fraternity at Alabama.
Yeah.
And was in commercial real estate.
Oh, yeah.
He was well on his way.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
That's a good point.
Before we get out of here with David Hale of ESPN, ACC Network, to me, the college football playoff is going to change in the next 2 years. I think we got one more iteration of this, and obviously the SEC and the Big Ten are going to get their way. But I feel like there's simple solutions here. The first one probably doesn't, I don't want to like take money out of your pocket, but like the first one to me is get rid of those Tuesday look-in shows. Just do it like the NCAA tournament. Just give me a bracket at the end of the year, and we can just completely avoid this feigning shock by Alabama as to why they're not in. But the bracket. None. Just give me the bracket at the end, like a normal sport. But we know college football is not a normal sport. The other is how these brackets are set up. And I'm guessing there's going to be some serious conversation with the power brokers about what exactly does winning your conference mean in terms of where you are in the bracket. Because I think some folks are going to look at like Oregon in the situation and wonder, well, wait a minute. How come this best team in college football has to deal with that versus Penn State, which theoretically has the bracket luck between SMU and Boise State?
What I would like is not going to happen. Because what's going to happen, and I think everybody has already fallen in line behind this, is it's going to go to 16. The SEC and the Big Ten are going to get guaranteed berths, probably, and they will not. You're winning a conference championship will get you a ticket to the dance, but it will not get you a good seat at a good table. I think all of those things are inevitable. I think, personally, that giving the top four conference champions a bye is fantastic. I think it is the one thing that still exists outside of the my conference is better than your conference argument. And I hate that it's going to go away, but it's absolutely going to go away.
Yeah.
So, I spent some time this week. It's funny because I don't feel like anybody did this week. But like if it had been 4 still, what was the argument we were going to have? Or if it was 14 or 16, what would these arguments have been? And frankly, they wouldn't be any different at a substantive level than the arguments that we actually had. I think if you're looking at how this year played out and how do we quote unquote fix it? Well, one, again, I think the fixes are how do we make it better for the Big Ten and the SEC? Mm-hmm. That will be the question that gets asked. I think there is, I said to my colleague Andrea Adelson, I don't think I wasn't as worried about SMU for exactly the reasons that I just said financially, but also I think that they had to have somebody as the sacrificial lamb last week to gin up drama. Otherwise, there was nothing to talk about all week.
Sure.
And so I do think they need to appreciate, like, how do we not spend the last week, which should be the culmination of this story, with no storylines? Mm-hmm. We need to have drama into this because drama at the end of the day is what we're selling here. And why do they do these Tuesday look-ins? It's to add to the drama and like all the things that people think are obnoxious about this, the power brokers view as a feature of the system and not a bug. So how do we maximize that feature? Now, I do think, and again, my guess is nothing will get done about this, but I do think the lack of credibility surrounding the committee right now, partially due to these Tuesday look-ins, and partially due to what happened last year with Florida State, and partially due to them hanging SMU out to dry for a week, eventually comes back to bite people. Because while revenue absolutely is the driving force of college football these days, I think that there eventually becomes a revenue problem when you have a genuine credibility problem. So I would love to see there being no more active ADs on this committee. I don't know why that needs to exist as it is. It's a terrible precedent. And I do think that they need to increase some transparency to the process, whether that means not doing the Tuesday things, but giving you the final rankings, everybody's vote is public, something like that. I would be majorly in favor of, but I also would just like to see a more reasonable discussion around what is this process? What should it look like?
Yeah.
What are the data points that we should prioritize when we're going into this last week? Say, yes, the championship games do count. Sorry, that's the way it is. Or no, we are not going to punish anyone. Like, you can't have it both ways, which they spent the entire season saying it's not punitive, and then in the last week said, well, it might be punitive. I don't know. Who am I to say? Like, have a system that is consistent from team to team, from week to week, and from year to year. It doesn't mean that you're using the BCS formula. It doesn't mean that you're putting the numbers into a formula and spitting out the answer. You can still have room for debate and discussion, but that there is a essential framework that is the same for SMU as it is for Alabama, and the same in 2023 as it is in 24. Like that, we know what it is that what goals you're playing for. I mean, it'd be like having the presidential election and saying 1 year it's the Electoral College, the next year it's popular vote, or in Tennessee we do it by the number of people who had kids that voted, and in Delaware it's landowners, and in Pennsylvania it's everybody. Like, right. You've got to have the same rules apply to every team, every week, every year.
I have an idea. This is a crazy, wild thought. Is there a TV entity that owns the college football playoff? Do they have cameras that they could potentially get into a room? I don't know. I mean, listen, we're just a podcast, David. We created the idea of taking phone calls and doing live reactions after games. So we created that. Yeah. So I'm going to use my big brain and say to this television entity, I've never seen this done before, but maybe I don't know. Maybe we could call it Hard Knocks. Cameras in the room. We'll have them have conversations and explain themselves, and we'll actually be witness to what is actually going on, rather than this, to your point, the no transparency at all. I don't know. Just an idea, man. It's a made for TV thing anyway. So why not make the whole thing for TV?
It would be tremendous content. Now, look, I will be sort of the wet blanket in the room here and say that when last year ended, Boo Corrigan's getting death threats, and that's a problem. And no one's going to want to serve on this committee if there's cameras in the room that set them up for them and their families feeling as if they are in danger. And this is just part of the DNA and fabric of college football, that there are lunatics who go and poison trees in Auburn and think it's hilarious.
But there's a way around that, and part of the reason he was getting, and look, listen, people.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're absolutely right. The lack of transparency.
Yeah, but the part of the reason there was people saying you didn't do X, Y, and Z for us as an ACC person is because there was no camera, there was no show. And I would say this to you: you're old like us now. This younger generation, you put Live 360 on their phone, they don't give a fuck. They go do, and they're going to do whatever they're going to do. Mm-hmm. So the next generation, you tell them, hey, we're going to put you on a committee. The thing's on camera. Shit, man, things that we could have invented. Survivor, Big Brother. Mm-hmm. That whole generation is like, yeah, cool, that's part of it. Mm-hmm. And to your point, the sitting ADs and the people who have current connections, they shouldn't be involved. There's no reason. There's not a single fucking reason for it.
They have no time for it.
They shouldn't have time for it.
They don't. It's not that they shouldn't. We know they don't. We just we know this, and things get spoon fed to them, and then they have to make the decision.
I mean, it's like the coach's top 25.
Right.
Like all it is some SID filling out that list at the end of the day.
I think
And
that's
look, here's the
get them off the freaking committee.
I couldn't agree more with this. And the other thing is it leads to a certain type of groupthink when you have people with a very similar background doing the same thing. And I'm not going to name any names here because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. This was a very off the record conversation. But you know how they do those things where they get like media and stuff together in Dallas to go through like the pretend version of this.
Yep.
And I had somebody who was there tell me like they basically were trying to bring up like, well, what about, you know, this metric that shows this or whatever. And a color analyst, former athlete, was there and basically said, shut up, nerds, us athletes are talking here. And there's just, it's very hard to, you know, just go on Twitter and look at the way that some people talk about the SEC and think genuinely LSU and A&M should be in because they're just better. I watched them and they're just better. Like there is a level of groupthink for these insiders that is a problem.
Drove through the deep South to watch college football.
Yeah. David,
sorry, Lane, my bad.
You can give yourself as an example. All you got to do is do one of your blind resumes and see how people react.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Wait a minute,
I mean,
Miami and Texas, the same team? That is incorrect. That is incorrect. You know,
I know better. And so, yeah, I just there needs to be a genuine discussion, not about the playoff, but about the committee and what it means to be, what its role is, and how it operates. But I, again, very cynically, don't think that that's going to happen at all because I don't think anybody is concerned about credibility.
David Hale, ESPN, ACC. Hey, man, we appreciate the time as always. Looks like Bill Belichick is not the head coach of Carolina. I told you that's the only way this conversation would not happen today if we had to go to Chapel Hill for an introductory press conference. So looks like we're in the clear for that. But you know what? The week is young.
The week is young. Listen, I think they should hire Bill Parcells. That's what I do. Or Bill Walsh is not still alive, right? We can't hire him. Okay.
No, this is a deep cut for the NC State fans out there. If they really wanted to set State fans off, the old timers, they go out and get Bill Cowher to be the head.
Yeah. Well, hey, how about Lou Holtz?
Hey, but you know, this is bringing the super crew together. All people who have weird triangle ties. They have all black and white photos of people at the various stadiums. That's what you do.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Lou Holtz will be a great hire because then when Carolina inevitably ends up playing Ohio State for a national championship, the Ryan Day-Lou Holtz rivalry can finally reach its apex.
Yes.
I see no downside to this.
Yes. What are you talking about? Ryan Day is going to be the head coach of Carolina, if you ask Julia. He's getting out before the X-Man comes for him. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
See you guys.
Bye. Joe, it was another weekend where I had a lot of beige food.
Uh-oh. So you're back to the home base. Go over to North Hills.
It is time.
Get yourself a Bueno Bowl.
I will be getting my roughage with the Bueno Bowl. That's what it's all about. Look, Happy Hale's great. Download the app to make it really convenient for you to get in and out. Order online. They'll have it waiting for you. Off you go. But again, it's funny. We talk about corporate champions. Like we're going to talk about Two Roosters here in a second, right? So like Jared over at Two Roosters, like, you know, at the rate we're going, we might need to do some corporate synergy with our friends at Happy and Hale. We're like, hey, you just had a whole gallon of our mystery ice cream. Now you got to back that up with some good. Head over to Happy and Hale for that wholesome good stuff, Joe.
Always looking out for us.
Oh, it's funny. I just got a text from our friend Michael Felder. He called. I wondered why Felder was calling.
What's going on?
I was wondering why Felder was calling. And then all of a sudden and then the text now reads, quote, "What the fuck is UNC doing?" Like, okay, we're recording. What did we miss? So I, again, get back to my phone and I see this just in. North Carolina has spoken to Jeff Monken.
The guy who just beat Tulane.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So there you go. Developing story.
Well, he was in New York.
And apparently talks between North Carolina and Bill Belichick for the school's football coach are ongoing. They remain ongoing. This is from Pete Thamel. So there's all sorts of newsiness that's going on right now. This is from what do we got here? And some type of resolution either way is expected this week. Belichick is expected to make multiple public appearances this week, which could add some clarity to the level of interest. So there you go. And then, of course, we've got that Monken news as well. So there you go. There's where were we? Oh, yeah, we're talking about Happy and Hale.
Mm-hmm.
Should get back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm lost now.
Don't be lost. It's okay.
It's okay. I hate when can these things just happen conveniently for us?
It's okay. It's okay.
No, I would just appreciate it when these things happen.
Think of us.
Like, seriously.
Think of the children.
North Carolina, can you wait until we're done for these types of things? Come on now. Anyway, Happy and Hale, go check them out. Speaking of two roosters, I might need to eat my feelings with two roosters at the rate things are going.
They have so many good things right now.
The Christmas action is off the charts right now. You can, let's see, Jared texted us today. Here's what they got going on. The peppermint crack bar ice cream cake, non-dairy Christmas cookie cake, 12 days of Christmas mystery flavor countdown.
It's like an advent calendar. It's amazing.
Ice cream Yule log?
The ice cream Yule log is literally ice cream shaped like a log.
I'm buying that.
Yes.
Ice cream gingerbread people? And they bagged up some mix-ins like the crack bar, the butterscotch haystacks, candied pecans for holiday snacking.
I noticed when I was in the other day.
This really requires us to work out a lot with all the goodness at Two Roosters. So go check them out.
To kill me.
Go check them out, tworoosters.com. Also, our friends at Mosquito Authority. You can check them out online at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Bugsbite.com. You're not thinking about mosquitoes right now. Totally get that. But don't sleep on the inside of your house where they can take care of the bugs trying to get in with all the moisture that we got going on right now. As cold as it's been, bugsbite.com is the website. Go check them out today. All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe. We will go to the OG Sports phone. Let's make it happen.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
It was from Friday at 6 o'clock.
Hey guys, it's Scott Wake Forest. I just wanted to thank you for picking up the mantle of the real pack therapy. Keep up the saltiness about it because you guys are the only real pack therapy out there. Good going. Thanks.
For the record, that was a combination of pack and Tar Heel therapy last week because both of y'all needed it for sure.
Yeah.
From a 704 number.
Hey, Joe and Joe. This is Jess. I just left the UNC Georgia Tech game. I was volunteering in the pep band as a pep band alumni. Are we bad this year? That was painful to watch. Like, we won, but goddamn. So anyway, just wondering if that's just me feeling that way or, I should be concerned. So thanks for the podcast. Keep it going. Bye.
You should be concerned on a UNC level.
Yeah.
Because UNC is a different standard.
Mm-hmm.
But not on like a college basketball level. I mean, we talked about this a lot last year in the sense that college basketball has flattened out even more so than college football, even as you see Indiana and SMU in a college football playoff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like college basketball, it just doesn't take that many players to flatten it out. And when the top end players don't even play college basketball or they're international players that never play college basketball, well, you're in the situation that you're in right now.
Oh, it's funny. I think we got some more Tar Heel therapy taking place. Here's another 704 number. It's Paul.
Hey guys, it's Paul. What do you know? What do you know? Losses still kind of matter. That's great. That's great. Way to go, college football playoff. Let's not quibble about the fact that the ACC got literally the last two seeds available, and their first round matchups really suck. But hey, the ACC got two bids when all the signs and all the build up was for them to put Alabama in the field. So ACC not dead yet, right?
Yet. There's still time. There's always still time. From a 252.
Hey, Joe and Joe. This is Tommy here, Bill, NC State fan from Eastern North Carolina. And I just want to get something off my chest. I don't understand all this angst I'm hearing from state fans about the matchup with ECU. They use the stuff like ECU Super Bowl, little brother, not our rival, like all the stuff that they'll get pissed off when UNC says, guys, this is a great matchup for Eastern North Carolina. I'm from Wilson, North Carolina, the midway point between state and ECU. I'm excited about it. And to all my state fans, if we're truly the bigger brother, just shut up, play the game, and win it. This is great for Eastern North Carolina. I appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, I think it was, you said from the jump. I feel like people need to, it's not 1992 anymore, man. And really, it's about what could be entertainment matchups. I think people are going to go. They're going to be hype about it. There's going to be people talking about it. If you're Dave Dorn, obviously you don't want to lose this game. But in the grand scheme of things, man, give me more stuff like this. I think it's better for everybody involved. Let's go to the text messages from a 919 number. Hey, OG, I'm not sure why Tar Heel fans are confused about basketball this year. Hubert is trying small ball just like the Rockets tried with James Harden. It didn't work with the pros and really fails with college players. They have to compensate with defense, but they can improve. Can they improve? 2022 looked horrible until the defense came around, so fingers crossed. Also, every time I see Ian Jackson, I want to say to him, welcome to Good Burger. Is it just me? Show me your age without showing me your age. I'll say this about Hubert Davis. I saw this a lot in our comment section for social media stuff. Yes, y'all, I understand Dean Smith, the whole, they wanted him fired and all this other stuff. Wait, why do we do this? Why do we always like bring up Dean Smith and Mike Krzyzewski? He's like, well, the Iron Dukes wanted Mike Krzyzewski out of there too. Dean Smith, he was as good as fired. Look at what yes, because this happens with every coach. Every coach. They all turn into Dean Smith. Like, do you understand that insults? I'm closing on this. I know we have more, but we got to go. We're done, and I'm now mad because this just reminded me of all the Hubert Davis stuff. I'm not saying this pro or con Hubert Davis. What I am saying is that every time you invoke the Dean Smith story or the Mike Krzyzewski story, you are insulting a Hall of Famer as if all these guys are going to turn into Dean Smith if you just give them time. No, that's not how it works. So stop it. If I get one more, Dean Smith, ... I'm blocking you. No questions, nothing. I'm blocking you because you're acting as though anybody can be. Matt Doherty, he could have been Dean Smith if you gave him more time. Oh, wait a minute. Suddenly we don't have that argument anymore. Weird. Matt Doherty had to get the fuck out of Chapel Hill. Oh, so what happened to the Dean Smith story? What happened to the career arc? Well, but I thought, but. So fucking stop it. Merry Christmas. We'll see you tomorrow.